Have you ever wondered who really guides someone when they're dying through their death emotionally? The family can try, but they're not really experts on this stuff. And you might have hospice nurses sometimes, but they're not around nearly enough. Sometimes they only come as little as like once a week. So a lot of it actually falls to someone called a doula or end-of-life coach. But what exactly is a doula or end-of-life coach? Here to explain is an actual practicing doula and former nurse, Kristin Steckbauer.
Hi. In a nutshell, an end-of-life doula or a death doula, they're synonymous, is a guide that helps transition you from this lifetime into the next. It's a highly customizable experience, just like a wedding ceremony can be. In preparation for death, the doula works with the family or the individual to come up with a death plan. Yeah, there's a plan for death too. And that can be something, but not limited to these ideas, something like a legacy project or a creative memory, a family keepsake. Paperwork, it has to do with the medical aspect and the legal aspect of how you want things to go in the future. There's also communication with various family members and even guidance. Yet, most likely, those family members are going to be the exact people taking care of the dying, if they get the privilege to do so at home. Most people prefer to die at home, but very few get the honor to do that. This creates an additional stressor on the dying person and the family members who can have long-term negative repercussions from this circumstance. When your time arises, and it will, because we all have this one thing in common, dying. But when a doula is brought into the circumstance, it can go much smoother because they can be the eyes and the ears to look out for circumstances. And they can give you a tip on when it might be a good idea to update a medical professional that the situation and the circumstances are evolving. Each person's medical care journey has so many variables, so many different things can be different for everybody, and it all comes in together at once. And medical staff cannot possibly have eyes on every patient the entire time they're caring for them. And realistically, guess what? Neither can the family members. Some aren't even trained or comfortable with the fact of taking care of the dying. Then they're sitting bedside vigil. Those quiet moments when someone just doesn't want to be alone. They're monumental. Maybe the dying patient doesn't have any family, and the doula prevents them from being a solo ager and dying alone. Or maybe there is a geographic restriction and they just can't get there as much as they would like to be, or they're a product of a sandwich generation and other obligations keep them pulled in other directions. A doula brought into the circumstance can help to bridge those gaps and fill the liminal space. An end-of-life doula can be appropriate at any stage of life, not just the massive final moments. A diagnosis of something that we weren't anticipating is a major life-changing circumstance. A lot of times that takes people by surprise. And that is a very stressful time for many, for most. It would be extremely difficult to make these big decisions at that time. Consequently, doulas are brought into the game late, and it doesn't have to be this way. With some education and people becoming familiar with what an end-of-life doula can offer, hopefully they'll bring them into their circumstance earlier on. Different doulas offer different non-medical services. Right now, this is a non-regulated industry, so remember to shop accordingly and check out the various services before you make a final decision on what each different individual doula offers. Imagine what doula services could offer to you and your loved one, because this is a circumstance that is of the unknown, and the fear of abandonment, the fear of being a burden, and the fear of being alone is very real for everyone involved. Death is an enormous event. Why have we been conditioned to think that this is something that we have to handle without support or preparation? It's a good question to ask, and hopefully it starts to open up some conversations as doulas and the death care field are hoping to normalize all of this and increase the conversations so we can increase our comfort zones and make them more obtainable.
Follow Funerals NNJ on Instagram for more simple explanations of end-of-life things. and follow at White Light Doula on Instagram for more of what it's actually like to be a real doula.